Hello folks and welcome to Linux for Seniors. In today's video I'm going to be talking about Zorin and the file manager for Zorin. Before I get going, I have started a new YouTube channel, so I might as well preference this now if this is the first time you've seen one of my newer videos. I am going to be spending a lot of time explaining things in probably a little bit more simple terms than I did on my previous channel. So none of my videos are going to be under 2 minutes, just to forewarn you. If you are looking for a quick explanation of something, then I would suggest looking for one of those 1 or 2 minute videos out there on YouTube. I have watched a lot of those over the years, and basically I have been left with what did that person say and how they didn't explain how this works or whatever it might be. Whatever subject matter that could be. I'm not talking just about Linux material. But for you to explain something that has to do with a file manager for Linux, for instance, requires more than 2 minutes. So anyways, Linux is for everyone. I am basically making this for someone that is fairly new to Linux, but certainly anyone is welcome to watch. And in this video here, again, this is going to be more than 2 minutes. I would suggest you subscribe. That way you can start watching. Stop it, come back tomorrow or next day or next week and continue watching. I have a lot of material to cover. And more importantly, you're probably going to see some interesting tips in here that you are probably not going to find somewhere else. And more importantly, they're not documented. So let me, I'm talking about some tips, not all. So I'm going to open up Terminal, just give you system information. And I'm going to use a command called Neofetch. Normally you have to install that on Zorin. This is Zorin 16.2. You can see that at the top. And we're talking, this is the GNOME desktop. Okay, and then you can see all the other particulars down there. So let me open up the file manager for this distribution. And this particular file manager is called, well, how appropriate, Files. If you were to click that website link down there, it will tell you this is Nautilus as far as a file manager. So this is version 3.36.3, and I am going to show you several different little tips in this video here. Now, there is a way to make these icons larger or smaller, but I'm going to show you a really interesting tip just using your keyboard and mouse as a combination to do this rather quickly. So let me go to the hamburger menu and explain what's in here. All right, first of all, you can create new windows, which I'm about to show you a little bit later for transporting files back and forth from even drive to drive or folder to folder. And you can also create new tabs and you can create new folders. You can also show hidden files. There are plenty of hidden files, believe it or not, in here. Okay, we have some preferences to talk about, and then there are some keyboard shortcuts to talk about. So again, this is about files. All right, so where do we want to start? Resizing icons, or do we want to start with the options? Let's start with preferences first. Let's talk about these for a second. I'm really going to point to the behavior part because a lot of people change from double click to single click. This is the default install. If you do that, some of these features that I'm about to show you may not work as properly as they should. So double click on items to open items. An item is a folder or a file, for instance. And this is what I have my setting set for. Okay. There's a couple of more categories in here if you're listing this by a certain category that you can actually activate, like detailed type of files or folders, the owners, and so forth and so on. Okay, and you can make some changes also in here. Now, icon sizes. So I'm going to click this drop down arrow key and I'll let you see there's a plus and minus key here. Now, I have a quick trick for you that is not really readily, how do I put this, visible. If I am right-handed, so I'm holding my computer mouse with my right hand, and there's a scroll wheel on my computer mouse, and most modern computer mice have scroll wheels. They come in handy when you're on a website and you're scrolling up and down. They come in handy if your file manager has a scroll bar, for instance. I'm going to actually use that to my benefit to resize icons, believe it or not. I'm going to take my left hand and hold down the control key. While it's depressed, I'm going to roll over that computer mouse scroll wheel to make these larger or smaller. Hopefully that's a benefit to you. That comes in handy when you're viewing photos, especially thumbnails. Okay, so we have a couple of ways to sort things. You can see them here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. We also have different ways of actually toggling the views. So again, not going to spend a lot of time on that. I think most people can figure that out. And then there's the search feature. All right, going back to the hamburger menu, we have also show hidden files. There is a keyboard equivalent that's not readily visible here, and I'm going to use it right now. It's called Control H, show hidden in other words. Anything that starts with a dot is a hidden object, in other words, file or folder. So this bash logout, born again shell logout, there's a dot in front of it. That's a hidden file. So the bash history is the actual history of the born again shell. And if you recall, I used the command Neofetch. And that was the install command right above it to actually get that information about the system. You don't have to use that. I'm just telling you where that history is stored. This is the history for terminal. This is something that when new users start, they kind of shy away from this box, but it's a wonderful tool. I'll give you one example that a lot of people know about this. This also should work on the terminal in Mac if you're using Born Again Shell or Bash. And that's just a simple calendar. And you're going to laugh and go, yeah, I got one right here. And you can see it right here. However, this calendar can do something special that this calendar can't. And that is to find dates and time. So I'm going to press the upper arrow key because it remembers my last command by doing that. And then I'm going to put a space. And I'm going to put JUL for July. And I'm going to put another space. And I'm going to put in a year. For the folks born in the United States, July 4th, 1776 falls on what day of the week? Oh, that would be easy. I can go on the internet and find that out. Yeah, you can. But this terminal box can find it a lot quicker. It was on a Thursday. That's the calendar for 1776. You can put anybody's birthday in here and have some fun with it. Put their month and year. You can also use it in this term. You can also put in, let's say, if you got a friend born in January, you can put 1 of 2000 and let's say 3. That person born in January 2003 was born on, let's say, the 8th. They were born on a Wednesday. Have some fun with your friends and family on that one. Now I'm going to punch up exit. Okay, so that's bash history, born again shell history. It just remembers commands. So if I open this again, guess what? Here's those calendar commands, and my last statement was exit. All right, so there's some hidden files and folders. I'm not really going to get into that in this video, but I just wanted to let you see that there is some hidden files and folders. You can also turn this off here. So Control H turns that on and off. Now you're wondering, okay, well, how do you know a lot about these keyboards? Well, there's some of them are listed here. Okay, so there are 3 pages worth of keyboard shortcuts. The ones on page 3 you should become familiar with. The Control X is cut, Control C is copy, Control V is paste. And oh, by the way, they work also in Microsoft Windows, these 3 commands. Actually 4, rather easily. Okay, so take a look at some of these commands. All right, so just remember Control H is show hidden files. Now you can also right click and create new folders, whether it's in your home folder. Linux calls these directories, but let's just stick with the name folder. You can create them in your documents, your downloads, or wherever. Okay, you can also open up terminal here. You know, I opened up that terminal earlier. These are the commands that I just ran through. I'm using the upper and lower arrow keys to show my stuff in the history buffer, if you're curious. So let's go over and have some fun with photos, for instance, because you can do some wonderful things with this file manager using photos. I'm going to make this a little bit larger. So I'm going to open up this wallpaper. Do you have any digital photos of your children that you would like to bring into Zorin as wallpaper? Maybe you downloaded a wallpaper off the internet. That's all up to you. I have a lot of weird stuff. I'm hitting the space bar, by the way, to do this previewer, okay? So that's all I'm doing here. You could double click on these things if you like. It's maybe a better method for you. You have your plus or minus keys if you need to reduce these. All right, so how do I make any kind of wallpaper stick on wallpaper? Well, you just right click on the file and you set as wallpaper. Now I have new wallpaper. That weird looking thing I just produced. All right, so if you have photos, I have this one here of Crater Lake, Oregon. I can set that one as wallpaper. And this is what this beautiful lake looks like. Actually, it used to be a mountain that was... anyways, let's continue. So if I wanted more information about my photo, I could right-click on it and hit Properties. If the image information has a camera that was recorded with it, like this Nikon Coolpix 8100, it will display that information there. I'll find another photo that's older. Let me scroll down here, find something that's really old. Let's see what that one, what kind of camera I used on that one. That one is an iPhone 6 Plus. The picture was snapped long time ago, 2017. So anyways, you can see the brand of camera here, Apple iPhone 6 Plus. So a lot of your digital photos store that information, and you can just pull that up with your basic information about your file. It's kind of a cool feature. Now I'm going to basically resize the thumbnails using that resizing method that I told you about earlier. You can still use the plus or minus in here if you like. So I'm just going to hold down the control key, and then I'm going to scroll backwards and scroll forwards and scroll backwards. Okay, let's see if the manual method has any. See, 50% is maximum. So I could click on that also. Okay, and then I can go to the maximum 133%. Or you can just use my method, which is hold down the control key with your other hand and using the other hand to scroll up and down with your mouse. Your scroll wheel on your computer mouse is what I'm getting at. The other thing you may find of interest, I'm going to show you this, as Linux treats files a little differently than some operating systems. Everything is important as far as uppercase and lowercase letters. I just wanted to point out that this 15JPEG, 15JPEG.jpg, and 15JPEG are not the same files. You can see the images are totally different on all three of these images. The same thing goes with 16JPEG, the ones in the center. This is a mushroom. Show a bigger picture of that one. And this is a waterfall. Close that one. The only difference here is this 16JPEG has lowercase JPEG and this is uppercase JPEG. That's what I was trying to get at. So if you are renaming files, for instance, or the file manager is complaining there's a duplicate file, but you need both, you may want to rename that just with a slightly different digits. In most cases, you'd leave the extension alone, but I just wanted to show the example here on all of these objects. This 15JPEG is the best example, especially that one. I'm not even sure how Microsoft operating systems will handle this. This may even give you an error. All right, so that's photos in a nutshell. So take your own pictures of your children, your pets, or wallpaper you downloaded off the internet or made yourself. Right-click on it, and set it as wallpaper. It's that simple. All right, let's talk about documents. So you have a couple of ways to manipulate files in here. First of all, I'm going to double click on that, and I have something open where I can read this PDF, and then you have the chapters off to the side. What kind of tool is this? So this is Document Viewer. Okay, you can of course install all kinds of different software. I'm just telling you what's default built in to your Zorin OS as far as this file manager is concerned. But I'm going to show you a neat little thing about compression and selection. A lot of people, usually when they're selecting something, they click on it, right click, you can compress this, or they click on that And then they go, well, how do I click on two of these to compress them at the same time? I want them together. Well, you could click on that and hold the control key and then click on that one and that one and that one and then compress all four of these. May I show you a different way to select things? Okay, I'm going to take and draw a box. All I'm doing is clicking and holding down my mouse button while holding this. Now I selected those 5 objects and I want this one to be part of the mix. However, if I click that, these become deselected. So how do I get all of that stuff selected? Well, I could start here and hold down the control key and keep clicking, which is kind of long. Or I could just drag a box around these guys, then hold the control key and then add that one, or deselect that one. So I'm going to take and compress 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items into a file. Right click, compress. Now this file manager has zip, tar, .xz or .7z. It's a newer compression. So you pick your compression. The .zip, as it points out, is the most compatible with most OSs. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, what am I going to call these guys? I can call them single letters if I want to. So I'm going to call this one test 1 and then hit create. So I have another one here that says just X on it. So you can use simple letters like that. What's in here? There's several documents very similar to these over here. And then to uncompress them, you could open up your archive manager and then hit extract. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can, I've never tried extracting. No, actually that wouldn't work because it's the same folder. So let me actually create another folder and put the compression in there. So I'll just call this one T because I can, and I'll take that zip file and drag and drop it in here. So now it's in all by itself. I'm going to unzip, double click on it, and then I'm just going to pull one out. And there. Now I just pulled one object out of that whole mess of files, and it's a JPEG, but it's, anyways, you get the idea. Now I'll pull this PDF. It's a printer manual. There we have it. So that's what that looks like. This is a previewer, by the way, and I'm using the mouse scroll wheel just to preview things. So if you double click on it, it opens it up in a little different fashion. Now I have a chapter area here. You may prefer this one. Okay, so the previewer for this JPEG is just exactly what all I did was hit the space bar and close. So now that you noticed that I did not extract all of them, I just extracted 2. So that's one big benefit to some folks. Now, a lot of people, why do they use compressed files? Well, maybe to compress certain things because they're running out of hard drive space. The other thing is I have some USB sticks sitting here. As a matter of fact, I have more than that. I have other hard drives. But these 2 are USB sticks. Actually, it's one USB stick with 2 partitions on them. So if I were to take that document that's compressed, either one of these guys, I can throw it on there if I have limited space on these backup drives and use a zip file to compress a bunch of files. That's the benefit of compressing. So there's all kinds of things one can compress. Now I'm going to show you movement of files. I'm going to reduce this window down on purpose because I want to squeeze in 2 boxes on my screen. So I'm going to go to the hamburger menu, as some people call this, and I'm going to hit this arrow here that says create new window. A lot of time it creates the window underneath, so you'll need to move it out of the way to see it. So just be aware of that if you click that and go, where's the window? Well, here it is. Do they have to be the exact same size? Absolutely not. You just have to have 2 windows. Now, whether you operate from this side or this side, it really doesn't matter. So if I want to use this side for my documents, I can certainly do that. I'm going to make this one slightly bigger. And then walk over to this one and hit backup. This is, by the way, is my USB, one of my USB drives. You can actually see the thing that says /media Zorin backup 4. It's just the path to it. So the properties of this particular drive is called Fuse. The file system is NTFS. It's a native file system for Microsoft Windows. The other side of this USB stick is partitioned with backup 5. Okay, let's right click on that and hit properties. This one is formatted with extension 4, a Linux compatible partition. Okay, but I'm going to use this one. So basically, if you are going to be sharing files with Microsoft and Mac, when you format your USB sticks, I would probably suggest FAT32. It's the most compatible. Now let's talk about drag and drop of files. So most of these I have in here. So what I'm going to do with this, since these are actually not important because these are my test files, so I'm going to get rid of most of these except for the owl. I'll drag him over to here. So this is, I just pulled a file off my USB stick and dumped it into this hard drive, into your documents. That's one way of doing it. Now, it still keeps the original here because I'm dragging and dropping. So it's a copy process. All right, so I'm going to get, I don't have this test.zip here, but I have one that's called xzip. So I'm just going to use this example. You remember what's in here, right? So I could do this. Now I just transferred that compressed file over onto my backup 4, which is a USB stick. Could I do that with other hard drives? As long as you have write permissions, sure. I have other hard drives. I could transfer files into that one too. Let's just say that I have one here with 3 users on it. So I could transfer files into there, but I'm going to stick with the USB stick to be simple. What if you meant to actually cut the file, in other words, move the file out of your drive into the USB stick? You would probably want to actually, let me get rid of this one because I already have a copy of it right here. So I would probably use the cut. I want you to notice the shortcut, Control X. That's a cut. Okay, you can cut the file and then you can click on this screen and hit paste or Control V. So let me show you some keyboard shortcuts to do this kind of stuff with. So let me take the file and drag it back over manually. Now that made a copy of it, didn't it? So that's how you can recover in case you go, oh, I still want to keep a copy of it. All you got to do is click it and drag it over. You're done. All right, so now I'm going to get rid of this one more time. And you can still do undo for a couple seconds. You'll notice that little pop-up box. Now, what I'm going to do here is use nothing but keyboard equivalent. And again, you can get this information from this hamburger menu under keyboard shortcuts under number 3. So I'm going to use Control X and Control V for cut and paste, just to let you see what I'm doing. Now, you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing on my keyboard, so just trust me, I'm actually using Control X right now. And then I'm going to click in here and use Control V. I obviously made the right commands because it's in here now. It went from here to here. But for the simplicity, because we, in the modern world, we like to drag mice stuff over, just keep in mind you can drag folders to go with it. So I'm not sure what's in test 3. Let me see how big it is. It's 25 megabytes. It's not that large. So I'm going to drag it from here to here. All I'm doing is making a copy of test 3 folder into my documents folder. That's all I'm doing here. You could do the same thing with your external hard drives or internal hard drives. And keep in mind you can resize these things independently. So these are now large and these are small. Let me resize that. You just need to make sure that you click in the screen first. Resize. What I'm doing for the resize, again, one more reminder, I'm holding down the control key on my keyboard while scrolling on my computer mouse up and down. And I may have not mentioned this earlier, so I might as well do this here, and it doesn't matter which screen I do it from, because this is my local folders now, is my wallpapers. So I can resize the thumbnails, and then you see the scroll bar here? I can scroll with my mouse in the resized thumbnails. So that's a great benefit of using this feature. Now I'm going to hold the control key and scroll up. It makes the thumbnails bigger. And then I'm going to release the control key, and now it's scrolling in the new thumbnail size. I knew I could say that. Lots of different features that you can do. And again, this one is kind of hidden. I've been using this for quite a few years, and I've been doing videos for a while, and I've been around Linux for over 25 years. Just to let you know if you was wondering. So let's reduce these guys down to something more reasonable, and then I'll reduce these down to something more reasonable. And then I'm going to close this box and cover the keys one more time. So if you're looking for something, use the search feature. If you're wanting to view this in a different format, then click the little guys over here. Okay? So if you're looking at thumbnails, for instance, let's take a look at these. And you can view them in a different light. Okay? The other thing over here, what are my options? My last copy I can undo. I can also sort these in a different way. You can also sort them by last modified, first modified, by size, and by type. And keep in mind you can do that plus or minus if you don't like to use my little trick I just showed you. So you can go this way if you like. Okay, plus or minus. I think you'll find using my little resizing trick of holding down the control key and scrolling up and down is a lot faster. But that's up to you. Again, the hamburger menu, new window. They're great for what? Taking two windows and dragging and dropping either from folder to folder. That means your internal folders to internal folders. And then also from internal folders into other devices. Now when you go from folder to folder, I didn't make mention of that, so I might as well cover that right now. So let's drag the two windows side by side. And I will find something. What's in my download folder? Nothing. So let me pull a document or a picture or something into that folder. And I have two images and wallpapers. I have two folders. One is called wallpaper and one is called wallpapers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this image over to downloads. This is called local folder to local folder. When you do this, this is a cut and paste. Oh, sorry. This is a copy process. And usually in another file manager, this would just be the opposite. So anyways, sorry, I misspoke there. So you would still have to more likely do a cut or Control X if you wanted to do that. Or do move to, copy to. All right. With a lot of other file managers, like Nemo, for instance, when you're doing this from folder to folder, you are actually cutting and pasting. But anyways, disregard what I just said. So if you're dragging these things and they'll copy them over and leave the original, then you're good to go. I'll do the same thing with that one. But all I'm doing here is transferring these two from pictures wallpaper into my downloads folder. That's all I'm doing here. So to verify that, I'm going to go to downloads and there's those photos. And let's go to pictures and to wallpapers. There's the same photos. That's all I'm doing here. Back to the hamburger menu. So new window, again, creates another box. You can also do a new tab if you're wanting to work with tabs. This is a little bit harder for most people to get, but I will do it anyways. So this is now my backup 4 USB stick, and this is my local wallpaper folder. Backup 4 USB stick, in other words. And you can probably right click, copy or cut or whatever, and then click the next one over, whichever you're working with, and hit paste. Okay, a lot of people may find this confusing. Okay, so I'm going to close that tab and point to this also. So I'm going to create a new folder inside of wallpapers and call that one test 1. So you can create as many folders as you subfolders inside of folders, and the more you create, you can continue doing this process. However, if you create another folder in here, all I'm doing is right clicking. You can also use the hamburger menu for this. And if I were to create another folder with the same name, what's going to happen? I don't even get a create command. Folder already exists. This is the part that most people miss. They're waiting for a post-it note. Just a little tiny line says this folder already exists. So how would I fix something like that? Well, I would just put a 0 on there. And now all of a sudden that turns into create. Now, how do I delete these? Well, I could do them individually and then hit the delete key on my keyboard. I could also drag a box around both of them at the same time, providing I'm absolutely sure I don't need any files in there. And then I'm going to hit the delete key on my keyboard. Okay, trash can is right here. I got a lot of stuff in there. How do you do a restore? Okay, so I'm going to restore this one. Where's it going though? You don't really know the path. So let's create something so you know what's going on. So first I'm going to empty the can to make this simple. I'll go to downloads and I'm going to create a folder. Or I could just use the photos also. But more importantly, I'm going to just grab a hold of this thing and hit delete. And it's going to go to my trash can. You got a couple seconds for an undo. That's okay if you allowed it to pass. You go to the trash can and all you do is hit restore. You can do it here. You could also do restore from trash. Where's it going? Directly where it left off. So just keep that in mind. It's going to send it back to where it came from. Here's your trash can. So you technically don't need a trash can somewhere in your panel bar if you are looking for that. And a lot of folks that have Linux systems don't bother to put that on their precious taskbar to take up space. They just use their file manager for this process. So this file manager can do a lot of things for you, including viewing other hard drives. These are other hard drives. Okay, so I have some spinning hard drives and I have some solid state drives in here and an NVMe. You can actually see the name of it. NVMe drives are the fastest out there currently. They're a little bit faster than a standard solid state drive. The spinning hard drives are still very popular out there, but as we all know, they are a little slower and they have moving parts. The solid state drives do not. All right, home folders. And you can create as many subfolders as you want. So if you need extra folders inside your home directory, for instance, when I say home directory, I mean your home folder because Linux calls these directories. No big deal. We'll call them folders. And you can create as many as you want. You can create subfolders inside of these things also. You can also do some maintenance in here too, as far as the desktop is concerned. Let me grab a file or two. I'm going to drag this thing over to the desktop. Okay, that's made a copy of it. Let's do another one. So there's now 2 things on my desktop. Hit the space bar. You remember that funky looking thing that I had earlier? And this one from Crater Lake. That's the actual background. Anyways, what I'm going to do here, since they're copies, is I'm going to walk over to desktop. I'm going to drag a box around both of these and hit delete. And they just got removed off my desktop because your file manager also treats your desktop if they've got regular files and folders. I'm not talking system icons. I'm talking regular files and folders. All right. Hopefully you found this informative. Hopefully you found this informative. I'm going to change the background manually to something from the system where we started from. You may be familiar with that one. And on that note, hopefully you have subscribed. I have some other videos for you to check out. Even if you're not interested in other distributions, you might be interested to know how other distributions handle their file managers and possibly take a look at other Linux distributions through my videos. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching Linux for Seniors.